is Hooters on the Radio, weekdays 10 a.m. till 2 on AM 620 WSUN, entertaining talk radio.
When a group of pharmacists get together for the big game, they won't settle for any beer. I mean any beer.
Hey, while you're up, you want to grab me another Demerol?
He fell down.
What's the score?
He fell down. You want to get me one?
What? Because pharmacists don't need to be slowed down with all that alcohol. They know they can get slowed down faster and easier without all those calories. So a couple of days before your next big get-together, see your doctor and your pharmacist.
United Medical Foundation, Golden, Colorado.
5:36 the time, 24 minutes away from the hour of 6 o'clock.
Ooh.
6 o'clock.
Home stretch. It's just a home
It's
stretch.
just a figure of speech, Sean. 576 WSUN in Pinellas, Hillsboro, 221 WSUN. I don't know. I just can't get excited, and I don't get excited about stopgap measures. It drives me insane that we live in a community where the 5 television stations just, we might lose the football team, so let's all blow out all of our regular programming, get behind this, and every major corporation, we got to get all behind this, and throw money at this and throw money at this. We lose 365, 75, or 85 jobs, depending upon which day the paper was writing the article, where people are making serious living wages. And it's, oh, man, it's drag. Oh, well, yeah. No, people don't need discounted food. People need meaningful gigs. People don't need free lunch programs at the schools because their jobs don't pay enough. They need jobs that pay enough. And this is where we should be focusing our attention, not, what can I say? Let's go to Brendan. Hi, Brendan. You're on the air at WSUN.
Good afternoon, Bobby and Sharon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Bobby, love the stories. I mean, I grew up with Mom telling me stories, and us kids stories like that all the time.
You're a lucky boy.
Huh?
You're a lucky boy.
Oh, man. She put real things in with it and made it all so real. And we had one babysitter, I remember, Linda, that would do the same thing. We'd sit there mesmerized and just listen to these stories, and it was just so neat. And you've kindled an old part of me a long time ago. But the one thing that kind of got me was people get so upset by it. Are they daddies? Do they tell their kids stories? Or do they work all day so they come home and just bitch and moan?
Oh, it's a phenomenon in this business. It doesn't really make any difference if it's in the least bit warm and fuzzy. It draws hate. It's just mind-boggling.
It's sad.
Yes, it is.
It may be all warm and fuzzy.
And yet somehow I get a perverse enjoyment out of it. That I have, by being warm and fuzzy, made people miserable.
Exactly. And I can certainly appreciate that any man could feel warm and fuzzy by listening to some stupid damn story about a stuffed whatever. My mom sent me for Christmas 2 years ago an LL Bean Bear. I don't know if you've seen him, Bobby.
Oh, yeah, they're neat.
Oh, yeah, and he had a note with him explaining what he'd been doing, and he had 57 cents in his pocket. That's all he had left. He'd come back home.
He had to pay for himself, huh?
Oh, yeah, he had come back home, and Dad, I'm sorry I was gone so long and all this stuff. And I mean, it was probably one of my best Christmas gifts, being down here instead of up there where it's all snowy and icy and everything else. But another thing that...
I don't know, maybe it's stupid, but most days we don't have a lot to talk about in my house, and I guess it's that way with other people, except, bad days on the gig or, a problem here or a problem there. And it's really just kind of nice, because I had a hell with that. What did the Bunnybear do today?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my better half and I have been together now for, coming on a 3-year anniversary. And again, you've talked everything over, and we have 2 cats and a bird, and the cats talk, the bird talks and whistles, and we discuss their day, because we've been at it all day. And it's I think people are missing something if they can't appreciate it. When Warner Brothers finally admitted that they had written the cartoons for adults and not children, when you think of Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and all of that, they weren't dealing with kids. They were talking about New Jersey and all kinds of other things.
Mm-hmm.
But
same damn thing at Disney World. Tell me that Main Street's for children. Yeah, right.
You know, I've never been.
Really?
I've never been. I've been in Florida now. Well, I came to Florida just 20 years ago, but never been.
Michael Eisner will be over at your house tonight.
Oh, God, he hope he's not trick-or-treating. Gave away all the beer and cigarettes.
No, he just wants the cash. He ain't coming by for beer and cigarettes and candy.
Yeah.
Can't believe you've never been to Disney.
I haven't. I've been to Epcot 3 times.
No, you go to the candy store, for example, on Main Street, and, of course, let's take the kids to Disney World. You go to the candy store, and it's filled with things that you remember from your childhood that you can't find anymore. Mary Jane's and those little sugar candies on the rolls of paper and, all the stuff that you grew up with at the candy store. Your kids ain't never seen it before.
My better half just passed me the note I got from my little bear, and it says, "Hi, Dad, I'm home. Sorry I'm late, but I've been partying, and all I ever knew about partying I learned from you. I lost my freaking shoes, and oh, God, my pants." I'm lucky. 57 cents in his pocket. But, Sharon, Christmas update here on Brandon.
Yes?
Yeah, the other one's working on tree number 27.
Oh, no.
What are we talking
Decorating?
about?
Yes.
What are we talking about?
Well, you do the house up pretty big time.
Oh. Okay.
And we have to start early this time, and there's 40-some-odd trees to do up this year.
Oh, my word.
But they run from a 14-foot down to 2-foot, 3-foot type of thing. But
I want to drive by your house.
Well, I hope you remember the invite.
Yeah, I was thinking what day it is. It's the Christmas party, so you'll have to let me know sometime.
We will. And you too, Bobby, if you're truly into Christmas.
I don't do Christmas parties. I don't do birthday parties. I don't do private Christmas
I know
parties.
you don't. You old curmudgeon. Anyway, Bobby, I truly enjoyed it. I understand what you're saying about not wanting to write it. It must be a bear. It must be an absolute bear to try to put it down on paper. And most of the stories like mine,
only if you have to.
Well, yeah.
That's when it becomes a chore. Only when you have to.
And when my mom told these stories, like you say, to anybody else, it wouldn't make any sense. But it was the same idea. We have stuffed animals around here. We need names for a few, but I just thought it was really neat, and I appreciate you for it.
Oh, thank you, dude.
We're going to go.
Okay.
Brock.
576 WSU1 in Pinellas and Hillsborough, 221 WSU1. You see, the Bunnybear is a scoundrel, and he's a charlatan, although he's a lovable one. But he also has a feeling, has a heart, rather, and feelings. And, for example, he tries to convince us that he's also a doctor. And he calls in prescriptions. I mean, if one of us isn't feeling well and the other one has to go to the store or something, damned if when you get to the store, Dr. Bunnybear hasn't called in a prescription for, a pint of ice cream or something. And you come home with the unexpected pint of ice cream. Well, what the hell is that? What do you mean, what's that? Dr. Bunnybear called in a prescription. Dr. Bunnybear? Oh, Dr. Bunnybear, he always knows what makes me feel best. You see? It just works. It's 5:44.
AM 620 WSUN. It's not just for inmates anymore.
Okay. So you just got asked the biggest dance of the year by Tom Dreyer, the school's all-star quarterback. He's gorgeous. gorgeous, and he drives the coolest car, and every girl in the school is envious of you. Then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like it actually heard him ask you, the biggest pimple of your life pops up right in the middle of your face. Tom will never want to be seen with you now, and you surely can't be seen without him. What'll you do? Is there any pimple medication that can clear your skin up in just 2 days? Nope. Sorry, you're out of luck. But hey, don't worry. I'll call Tom and tell him something suddenly came up. Like a zip the size of the Grand Canyon on your face. Have fun sitting at home.
Clear away. Removes pimples in 3 to 4 days.
What the hell am I supposed to do with this stuff?
I don't know. I just thought it was odd.
Just handed this. The ancient science of mummification apparently is making a comeback. Some mortuaries are offering a mummification service for people who want not only to have their memories preserved, but their bodies as well. Dr. Bob Breyer, who is an Egyptologist at CW Post College in New York, says it's a service some people want. He says it meets a need for people who don't like the thought of turning to dust. You don't turn to dust, you turn to chocolate pudding. That's dust.
Eventually. Dusty, kind of. Or crusty.
The only time you turn to dust is after the worms eat the chocolate pudding, and then their stuff. Experts say they can document more than 100 people in the U.S. who have chosen mummification over a traditional form of burial. The service costs $7,000, and morticians need at least 70 days to prepare the corpse.
Like 70 days.
Sick.
I wonder if that means you have to call him before you die. And then wait a
No, Sharon, it's...
just rattling you, Robbie. Okay.
This is sick.
Isn't that weird?
Get a gun, get a map, get out. It's the only answer.
Yeah.
We don't need funeral parlors anyway. This ought to be a large pit on the edge of town. When you die, you just,
roll off the edge.
Have a, barrel of lye. When they throw you in there, I think I just take a shovel or two of lye and throw it down on the body. This whole thing of funerals and stuff. Well, like, we were talking about all you've accumulated in 6 decades on this earth.
6?
Okay, 5. All you've accumulated in it's a funeral plot and
something.
That defrosting thing there that doesn't work. It's a ripoff.
We've already decided we're just going to etch my name in it and use
that as a headstone, right? 576 WSUN in Pinellas and Hillsborough, 221 WSUN. Let's go to Tampa. Hi, Tampa. You're on the air at WSUN.
How you doing, Bob?
Doing well. Yourself?
Pretty good. I just actually got out of the hospital because I had stepped on, somebody had put boards with nails in them in their yard. And I'm a water meter reader, and I was going through their yard and stepped on them, and I ended up in the hospital over this.
God.
So I haven't really gotten to listen to your show a lot lately. But I just got home, and I got a bill from my taxes, and I just bought a house this year. And I thought I'd ask you about something. I was kind of confused on the taxes.
Yeah.
I just got my tax thing for this year, and on the county, there's $247, and public schools is $294.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go on down a little farther, criminal justice is 69 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Now, isn't that kind of ridiculous? I mean, to be paying almost $300 for schools and 69 cents for law enforcement?
Actually, that's kind of like a surcharge on law enforcement because the entire, let's see, where do you live? Okay, you live in Tampa.
Right.
The entire real estate tax base in Tampa doesn't cover the complete cost of running the police department. So it's kind of like a surcharge. It's over and above.
Because also I had a couple of false alarms because I have a dog on my alarm system, and now I'm being charged $40 for that.
Yes, they get very, very unhappy with false alarms.
Yeah.
As well they should, because, they break their ass to come out there.
Right, that's true. Maybe you could explain to me one thing. The municipality on there, what is that? Do you know?
I don't know what you mean.
It says Municipality Tampa, $204. I'm being charged for that on my taxes, and I just didn't know what that was exactly.
Well, the tax bill that you get is it's kind of like a consolidated tax bill. There's county taxes on there and municipal taxes. That's what that is.
That is what is that exactly?
It's your property tax.
Oh, okay, that's exactly what that is.
And then there's a tax for libraries and a tax for schools and a tax for all kinds of crap. There's 6 or 7 or 8 even.
Right. And there's also one
consolidated bill
for Tampa Palms Community Development Distribution.
I have no idea. That is beyond me. Do you live anywhere near Tampa Palms?
Not really, no. I live in Seminole Heights area, and I'm being charged $15 for Tampa Palms Community, which you well know those people are probably richer than just about anybody in Tampa in that area.
Well, I'd basically consider it, my good fortune that they only charge me $15. Basically, what the hell, $15 to stay out of Tampa Palms, stay away from those people, seems like it would be cheap at twice the price.
I guess you could look at it that way.
Could be like that seat deposit program for the stadium.
Yeah.
But I just wondered, that was kind of weird, on the different charges, and it's just some of the price differences just doesn't seem fair.
It's a bizarre tax bill. As you know, I just bought my house, and so I've only gone through one full tax cycle myself. And when I got my bill last year, I know what you're going through. I sat there and I looked at it and all these bizarre little things. Why can't they just tell me that my tax is X number of dollars instead of all of this nonsense?
Yeah, when you start breaking it down and looking into it, it really kind of bums you out.
Well, what really bums you out is if you'd like to, have some input into this. If you haven't gotten it already, and I suppose that you haven't, you will soon get notification that if you disagree with these taxes and you would like to take part in the public hearings, you're going to receive reams of paper as to where the various different public hearings are being held for the various different taxing authorities.
Right. There's also numbers for each separate thing on the back of the bill that I guess you could call and complain or whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, sure. If you got a couple of days, to make all of these calls and all that kind of stuff, it'd be fine. But for the mere mortal, the average person, it's not practical.
Right. Yeah, I can understand
Nor is it practical to attend 4 or 5 or 6 public hearings.
Right. Well, I did just want to, let maybe other people that might have these questions, too. I hope it might help other people out, too, on this.
Okay.
All right?
Hey, be good.
Okay, well, thanks a lot.
Okay, you too. Take care. No, I don't do birthdays. I don't do schools.
Well, I think you're missing it there. The kids would really enjoy it, and if I would have known you were doing that today, I would have taped it and made them listen. I enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad
Sharon.
you did. Hey, thank you very much.
You doing a cookbook for Christmas, Sharon?
With all the recipes I'm getting in the mail, I probably should and attribute them to listeners. I just got a big pile of cookbooks from our friend Mary down in Englewood just this week. Favorite Bisquick recipes.
Sharon, I love you dearly, but that's spooky. That's a spooky thought, honey.
Yes, it is.
Those weenies and ketchup and whatever the heck.
Grape jelly.
Grape jelly.
Tis the season.
Yeah.
Serve that on the boat. That'll be easy to toss.
And they do.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
576 WSUN in Pinellas and Hillsborough, 221 WSUN. You do fancy yourself quite a little chefette, don't you?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
The lady that sent you the Bisquick.
She's also a sculptor. I suppose you could sculpt with Bisquick if you had a particularly stiff batch and wanted to make it into stuff.
Bisquick is a very, very interesting product.
Makes lots of stuff.
You can do a lot of interesting things with Bisquick if you're willing to really work it, like you would dough. You can get some very decent quality biscuits and stuff out of it, but most people just kind of, mix it twice and throw it on the cookie sheet. It comes out real lumpy and flaky and bad.
One of my favorite things that I haven't had in years, my mom used to make was chicken and dumplings, and use Bisquick to make dumplings. In the pressure cooker?
Oh.
What? I think she made it in pressure cooker. I can't remember. What's the matter with that? It was delicious.
Oh, I'm sure it was, Sharon.
How dare you make... Now, it's one thing to make fun. Use Bisquick to make dumplings. In the pressure cooker?
Oh.
What? I think she made it in pressure cooker. I can't remember. What's the matter with that? It was delicious.
Oh, I'm sure it was, Sharon.
How dare you make... Now, it's one thing to make fun of my cooking, but don't you make fun of my mama's cooking, pal.
Is there any particular reason why she used a pressure cooker?
I don't know.
I could possibly think of a reason why she used a pressure cooker.
Look, pal, I know what your mother used to cook.
Could it possibly
Your mother used to cook
have
crap.
covered up some other sounds that might have been going on out there in the kitchen?
Get over here. There. Take that. Take that. Shame on you.
576 WSON up in Alice, Hillsborough, 221 WSON. It is 4:42.
AM 620 WSUN. Entertaining talk radio.
Some days, everything takes more time than you expect. Fortunately, dinner doesn't have to be that way. Because in 30 minutes or less, you can put together a beef dinner your family will think took hours to prepare. That's why at Arlene's house, the kids are starting to feel a little queasy after wolfing down that chili mess. And across town, the Bradfords are gathered round the toilet bowl, vomiting up the last of their beefy enchiladas. And even now, Ben and Carol Baker are thinking about that funny-tasting meatloaf they had for dinner while they're being rushed in an ambulance to the emergency room with the worst stomach cramps of their lives. You see, in 30 minutes or less, you may be able to put together a beef dinner. But given all the prep time involved, you won't have time to actually cook it. Raw beef and E. coli. It's what's for dinner.
I'm still miffed at you.
Why?
Making fun of my mother's cooking. She made wonderful chicken and dumplings. You know what? I remember what your mother cooked. Your mother would make...
My mother was a terrible cook.
Your mother would make that stupid cucumbers and sour cream stuff served with a big old glass of buttermilk.
No, she didn't make it. My father made it.
Oh.
She couldn't stand it either. She wouldn't... He had to eat it in the dining room all by himself. Nobody could even sit in the same room when he was eating that stuff.
Let's hear a sample of a...
No, my mother was not a good cook. My mother was not a good cook. Yeah, she wasn't a terribly bad cook, but she frequently overcooked meat and that kind of stuff. She wasn't a great cook.
Oh, that's right.
Stretched the imagination.
She liked to cook liver, didn't she? She served liver a lot.
No, she liked to cook liver. Wouldn't have been so bad had she just cooked liver.
Mother Gwadowski's favorite.
My grandmother, my father's grandmother Gwadowski, she was a great cook. She was a dynamite cook, but my mother was just a very mediocre cook, nothing terribly spectacular. Never said otherwise.
Well, see that you don't. There.
Okay, sure. I think she was probably a better cook than you.
Oh, thank you very much.
But then that's not really saying a lot, is it?
You don't know that your mother was a better cook than I am.
I mean, to the best of my knowledge, in my entire life, my mother only went through 2 can openers. How many have you gone through, Sherry? Let's go to a lady in Largo. Hi, lady in Largo. You're on the air at WSUN.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
I was sitting there with my Walkman on at work like I do every day, listening to you like I do every day. And I've been working a really rough schedule lately. I've probably worked 14 days without a day off, including Sundays and Saturdays.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, and Well, I was sitting there today, and I've been having a fairly decent day, but you started telling your stories, and all of a sudden, I mean, I proofread for a living, all of a sudden, what I was reading started wavering in front of my eyes. I actually started to cry when you were telling those stories. I mean, it just, I don't know if it just dredged up a lot of things I've been thinking about lately, or I think the one where you were telling the story where the people had moved away and left the animal in the garbage, that kind of...
Oh, Wally, yeah.
That
Poor
kind of
Wally.
just hit me. That reminded me a lot of the Velveteen Rabbit for some reason. That's one of my favorite children's stories.
I'm not familiar with it.
For all time.
I'm not familiar with that story. I've never even
it is.
heard the name of the critter before.
It's a tearjerker. Every time I read it, I start crying. I'm just a very... People call me oversensitive, but the rabbit, I'll make it short, but it's a make-believe rabbit, and a little boy has him. The little boy gets really sick, and he gets scarlet fever, and they take all the animals, all the stuffed animals, and all the toys out of the nursery because of all the germs and everything. And the rabbit's left out in this field, I guess, and it's something where he was complaining because no one loved him and all this stuff, and I guess the moral of the story is that if a child loves you enough, you become real, something like that. I'm sorry I'm not making a lot of sense. I've worked a lot of hours this week, so... But anyway, it had the qualities of the Velveteen Rabbit. One of the rabbit was crying and everything, and it just kind of reminded me of that, and I just thought it was nice with all the crap that goes on in this world, all the people being mean to each other, that you actually took the time to sit there and tell these stories. It just meant a lot to me. And it just hit me in a way that I just didn't really expect.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. That's the kind of crap that runs through my head all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and I was thinking, I agree with what someone said earlier, that you would have made, if you ever decided to have children, that you would have made a fine father. I just kind of wish that more fathers, more people that are parents had that tender quality. You have a very tender quality about you, but it doesn't detract from your masculinity. I mean, you just have such a way of telling stories and stuff and talking. It's just, I don't know. I'm babbling. What can I say? So I just wanted to say pretty much that it really meant a lot to me to hear that. And hopefully when you get the rest of it on paper, or the rest of the stories on paper, we'll get to hear more and be treated a lot more.
Okay.
Well, you have a great talent, Bob, that's for sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay, take care. Take care, Sharon.
Okay.
Okay, Prod.
14 days in a row. It's not human. It's not human. It's not good. It's not good. 576 WS1 in Pinellas, Hillsborough.
Yeah, I was going to ask her how her back was.
What's that mean?
Well, if she hurt her back, it's a good way to get a day off.
Or even just say you did, and then walk funny for a couple of days afterwards. That would work. Not that anybody I know would do that, of course.
It's just a thought.
Yeah, just an idea. You probably could use a little break. A 3-day weekend. It would be convenient for it to happen on a Sunday night.
See, first of all, everybody should have at least 5, really 6 days a year. Every 1 day every 2 months. Wild card days. They aren't charged to vacation, aren't charged to sick leave or anything like that, where you just call up and say, nah, not today. A person should not have to be home in pain or great discomfort. Should just have, at least one every 2 months. You just, nah. That's what it could be called. Nah, not today day.
Why don't we write to the sisters and see what they think of that?
No, we don't want them to know about the station. We don't want to bring it up.
Oh, sorry.
Let's go to Tampa. Hi, Tampa. You're on the air at WSUN.
Hey, Bob. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
those stories you said, while I was at work, I caught part of it, and then I fell asleep. But then on the way home, I caught a guy talk about some candy and all that, some Halloween candy and stuff. Well, what me and my brother did, he took his nephew out trick-or-treating, and he was wondering what we were going to do while we were gone, because I had to go somewhere. So we got this big bowl. I mean, this bowl was so damn big, I mean, we could bathe his nephew in it. We put it out there on a table, and these kids, I mean, I could just imagine them coming up seeing this big bowl, you know, supposedly filled with candy. We put a sign above there, take one. We didn't put any candy in it. We know some smart butt would come by and take it all. So then we got back, and then, you know, everything was cool. Nothing was done wrong, but then we were thinking about consequences. So we're like, well, there's one or two. The house is going to be egged by the weekend, or next year we're going to have about 30 kids when they get off the bus waiting in front of our house. So we kind of got stuck right there.
Yeah. Consequences to everything, dude. Consequences to everything.
Yep.
576 WSUN in Pinellas, Hillsborough 221 WSUN, and of course toll free somewhere 1-800-356-WSUN. Good lesson to learn, young in life, Sharon. Consequences to everything. That's why I say, get a gun. Get a gun, get a map, get out. It's 4:56.
Hey, sports fans, it's Jimmy Dean. I came across something interesting here I thought I'd share with you. It's regarding Emmitt Smith. You know Emmitt, Dallas Cowboys superstar running back, has the face of a midget. Yeah, that's the one. Anyway, apparently the $5 million a year or whatever he gets in salary isn't enough. Now Emmitt's going into business. He's opening a chain of cellular phone stores, each of which will feature Emmitt Smith memorabilia. Now, here's my problem with this. Not all small business owners have the luxury of playing for the Dallas Cowboys. When you're making that kind of cash, do you really need to start cutting into their profits? Is it necessary to steal customers away from Ron Mal, the prince of portable phones? It ain't fair. Nobody wants to see Ron Mal's jockstrap framed and hanging on the wall, and Emmitt gets to use his to lure him in. Same with restaurants. Michael Jordan's packing them in at his restaurant in Chicago. Meanwhile, there's a Dave's Barbecue with better food across the street, and nobody wants to know about it. Dave didn't get a $10 million deal from Nike. Dave needs to move some ribs. But it's not just a matter of fairness. I believe it's a matter of national security. And I'll tell you why. You got all these terrorist types running these cell phone and beeper places, right? As long as they're making money, America is okay with them. They're happy. As soon as they stop making money, they start farming stuff and taking shots at the president. Is that what you want, Emmitt Smith? More terrorism? All right, maybe I'm stretching a little, but the point is this. You're making more than $5 million a year. Stay the hell out of the mini-mall. Contrary to what your agent says, you don't have to have all the money in the whole world. I'm Jimmy D, sports philosopher, and that's what I think.
5:02.5. Welcome back, fun seekers. Fourth final hour for this particular edition. Wednesday, November the 1st, 1995. You must forgive me because I got involved in something earlier today that apparently, took all of my time and attention, and I missed, and literally, apparently a big breaking kind of story. I was cleaning my toenails, and it seems that the We're Here to Stay boys, Malky's boys, are they renting or did they buy? Have been seen lurking around in places such as Orlando and apparently Baltimore. And Malky has offered to sell half the team, apparently, to the dude in Baltimore, I guess.
That's what it kind of looks like to me.
My, oh, my, oh, my. They haven't even hardly opened the box yet. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. My goodness me. Boy, so much for a commitment, huh? Boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. My, oh, my, oh, my, oh, my. Boy, that would really be terrible.
Heartbreaking.
Sun won't come up tomorrow. I'm telling you, Sharon, that football team leaves town. The sun will not come up tomorrow.
It hardly came up today.
God almighty. What are all those poor, hot dog vendors going to do over there? Well, I guess they get a gig at the brewery or something. No, that's out now, too. Jeez. brewery's gone, so they can't go to work. Oh, this is terrible. This is terrible.
Shipyards, no.
No, I know. You can't go to the shipyard. George closed that down and ran that into the ground. Something they could do.
No, I don't know.
Oh, well. But that's the big news today. I'm serious. I missed it completely. I was totally unaware of this. I just found this out.
Yeah, we were looking here at our friends Brendan and Marty.
So, interesting.
Of course, the sound was down, but we were looking at the pictures.
And that appears to be what they're talking about. Yeah. Appears to be what they're talking
Orlando.
about. No. Orlando is reporting that, it's apparently talking to Baltimore. But it's reported in the Orlando. That is what they're citing as their source, is the gist that I get from it. 576 WSUN in Pinellas Hillsborough. Isn't that a black day? 576 WSUN in Pinellas Hillsborough. 221 WSUN. And, of course, toll-free. 1-8... God, they're still talking about this. Must be serious. They're now 5 minutes into it.
Big stuff. Still to come more.
My goodness. 576 WSUN Pinellas Hillsborough. 221 WSUN. Let's go to a lady in St. Of course, if we had a news wire over here. Let's go to a lady in, or somebody over there that would fax us over the stuff. But let's go to a lady in St. Petersburg. Hi, lady in St. Pete. You're on the air at WSUN.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
Karen.
Hello.
This is your cartoonist calling.
Oh, the royal cartoonist.
Oh, hi there.
How are you doing?
Excellent.
I haven't talked to you since I sent that. And I was listening to your stories today and thinking about myself a little bit, and I do understand why you don't publish them. You're right, it's not worth it. The same reason I do silly little cartoons and send them over the fax to people in radio stations. But
no, somebody asked me to put it down on paper. I did. It took several weeks to do it. It was, kind of fun, also a considerable chore, but I really have no desire to become a writer any more so than I already am. I write for several hours every day as it is, and, beyond that, I'm not interested.
Well, it's interesting because I once thought that I had a dream job. I got a job as a graphic illustrator, and I was supposed to illustrate books, and I poured my heart and soul into these drawings, and I'd take them to my boss, and he'd look at them, and he'd just say, nah, that's not what I want. Do it again.
Yes.
I've also tried dabbling.
That's one of the things that, unfortunately, when you are a quote-unquote creative person, and you're working for somebody who basically came out of the sales department, does not understand that, when you're told you did a bad show, or you're told you did a bad illustration, or you wrote a bad story, or whatever it is, it's not like, it's not like being told you laid bricks in a crooked fashion, or your machine tool is out of round. That's not what they're telling you at all. What they're telling you is that you personally have failed. You personally, because that's what you're doing. You're putting yourself on the air. You're putting yourself on paper, and it's you don't say things like nah.
Well, exactly. It's a huge risk to take something that you love and put it out there for public consumption, and that's why I appreciate you doing it today, because I realized what you were doing. And even though you're not putting it all out there, you chose a couple of stories. But
that's it. That's all that's actually in that form. So the stories that I tell my wife are highly personalized, and when I say personalized, I mean contain information that you guys just wouldn't understand. It would take hours or days just to set up a 2-minute story. So this stuff. This is the Bunnybear is a character that lives at my house. That's for real, and these are variations of things that the Bunnybear has done over the years since he came to live there. That were put in a form that other people could understand without having to go into unmerciful detail. But you see that house that the Bunnybear lives in, that's my house. It really and truly is. When he's walking up the steps, he's going up the steps in my house, and the room that he stays in really exists. It really and truly is there. The kitchen table that he sits at really and truly is there. There's even a place for him. I know exactly where he sits. And the window that he looks out, it's really there. It's all real.
Well, it's at least the two that you told today had more than personal meaning, I think, to people, as you've witnessed from your callers. I did notice we haven't had a whole lot of guys calling this afternoon.
No, I drove them away. Absolutely drove them away. They couldn't deal with it. There was no sex, there was no violence or anything like that. So, they bailed out in droves.
Well, there are some male listeners out there, I'm sure, who are tuned into it, too.
And you know what? I don't care anymore. I just don't care. If they don't get it, I don't care anymore. I'm 50 years old, and I don't care anymore. Screw them.
That's it. You tell your story, and if people like it, that's great. But don't change it.
Oh, don't worry.
Just with the audience.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
I had something else I'd like to talk about.
Sure. What's that?
Talking about Halloween a little bit. I have two kids, and I'm not a perfect mother. I'm not the ideal mother, but I've tried to raise them with morals and according to the golden rule, which is kind of my religion. And I wondered, as kids were grabbing for an extra handful of candy last night, if I'm raising them correctly, because it seems like I'm raising them for a world that doesn't quite exist anymore. And I'd like to hear from some other parents, maybe. But I wish, as I was listening to your stories today, I wish someone has the courage to produce some modern-day fables for kids.
You say that you're raising them to live in a world that doesn't exist anymore. Unfortunately, I think that you're at least partially true, but I'm not sure that you're totally true. I'm not sure that you and I live in a town that is totally representative of the world. We live in something that can be referred to as a place in the sun. Places in the sun attract, I've talked about this a lot. Places in the sun attract a very unusual grouping of people, basically a lot of runaways and malcontents. And I'm just no longer sure that my friends and neighbors in this community are genuinely representative of who and what is out there in the rest of the world. There are an awful lot of decent people here. There are a tremendous number of decent, good, hard-working, honest, delightful, moral, outstanding human beings in this area. There are an awful lot of scumbags. And I think that we have far more than our fair share of scumbags, and unfortunately they breed.
But you know what? They're everywhere. I mean, we've lived in 3 different places in the past 10 years, and some of them quite rural. And there's not a lot of difference, not as much as you would expect.
Really? Where have you lived?
Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, God.
And
heart of liberalism.
Central Maine. So it's quite disturbing because I would have thought that too. I would have thought that it would be far worse here, and in effect, it is because there's just more people, and it's much bigger population, and it's more impersonal in that way. But really, life in this country, I think, has become quite generic in that sense that all the shopping malls are the same and all the media influences are the same. So there's not, I don't think, as much difference.
Well, you're in a different situation than I am. I'm not trying to raise children, and so therefore I don't have any responsibility after my heart stops beating. That's it. But I have reached a point in my life. I have made some very, very definite decisions. I no longer care what people think. I no longer give a crap. I do what I believe to be the right thing. I try my damnedest to live by, quote unquote, that golden rule. Do I always succeed? No, I don't. Do I succeed as often as I'd like to? No, I don't. But at least I try. And in terms of what you're talking about, my advice would be to you, somebody's got to start somewhere. I don't like what's going on in the world. You don't like what's going on in the world. And frankly, most of the people alive in the world don't like what's going on. somebody somewhere has got to say, nah, no more. I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do what's right. When I see something that is wrong, God damn it, I'm going to speak out about it. When I see something that sucks, I'm going to say, that sucks. And
you're right. Yeah, I mean, first you're right, and I'm not going to change the way I'm raising my kids, but it's just really hard, and people...
Well, it's a tremendous responsibility that you're taking because you may be raising up your children for a life of misery and disappointment. But somebody somewhere's got to start.
There's an awful lot of kids just raising themselves, and I wish I could just tell people, if I had one thing to tell people is go home and pay attention to what's going on. Listen to it, and for these guys who don't want to hear a warm, fuzzy story, maybe some dads, listen to it.
No, they don't even have to listen to it. Screw them. They just missed it. They'll never know.
Well, maybe they have kids, though.
Yeah,
listen to your kids.
And the guy who owns the football team is going to run away on them. Then what the hell are they going to do?
Well, that was the other heartwarming story for the afternoon.
Just so you'll know, by the way, lady in St. Pete, last night, because I've been to the malls, just happened to be shopping there on Halloween night and forgot, or been there, for a specific reason. And last night it was very different. People were more polite, and they waited their turn, and it was really very nice. And almost everyone at least tried to have some kind of a costume on. And it was cute, and they had many people with babies, little babies. And it was kind of nice. It really was. I mean, any time you're going to be giving something away, there's obviously going to be mobs and masses of people. But it was all very orderly, and it was encouraging.
Good.
If that means anything to you.
Good to hear.
Okay. Hey, thank you.
Rock.
Be good. When I was driving in, I was listening to the girls, and apparently they spent a tremendous portion of their show talking about divorce today for some reason or other. I don't know what triggered it. It doesn't make any difference. But of the calls that I heard, and I more or less have to assume that this was pretty much the thrust of the show, because unless you have a son of a bitch like me doing the show, this is what happens. I came away with a very distinct impression that all ex-wives are pigs and that all ex-husbands are scumbags, without any exception. And let me repeat that, all ex-wives are pigs who don't take care of the children and are out to drain every last penny they have from you, and of course are sluts on top of that. No exception. And from the women who have ex-husbands, all the ex-husbands are scumbags who shun their responsibility and also sleep around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, without exception. And everybody that called was an absolute perfect individual who was formerly married to a pig or a scumbag, without exception. Nobody called and said, probably half it was my fault. And, of course, I might also point out, nobody bothered to say, God, you sound perfect. I can't see why that pig would have left you. But it just goes back to everybody in this country is a victim. Nobody in this country is responsible for everything. Everybody in this country is just constantly beset upon by the Negroes, by their ex-spouses, by the dragheads, by management, by labor, by whoever the hell your enemy is. Everybody in this country is a victim. Nobody in this country is responsible for any of the mess that they're involved in. But I just found that an incredibly interesting show, without fail. All these perfect former spouses, all formerly married to pigs and scumbags. It's 17 minutes after 5. Okay, so let me see if this is so embarrassing, but, what can I say? So let me see if I have this correctly, Jeffrey. Our business manager or head bean counter, Basil Smith. No,
the bean counter in this building.
Oh, the bean counter in this building.
Oh.
Okay. So, Shorty's bean counter.
Yes, that's right. Shorty's bean counter.
Said what now?
He said that according to the Orlando Sentinel today, they had a story that Melky's had some dealings with some people in Orlando, and said that if this seating arrangement deal that they've got going doesn't go well and get pulled off, that he's pulling the plug and going to Orlando. And now, and apparently he's flying in from California tonight to hold a press conference.
What was he doing in Los Angeles?
I don't know. I guess it was a friend's wedding or something.
I would have to think that the NFL would be far more inclined to put a team in Los Angeles than in Orlando. Interesting.
Well.
Let us do a cell phone. A lady on a cell phone, no less, in St. Petersburg. Hi, lady on the cell phone. You're on the air at WSUN.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
I wanted to respond to the woman that just called. I've been a mother a long time. My first child was born in 1963. And pretty much I felt the same way then that she feels now. I'm raising my children, and where in the world are they going to live? Well, we lived in various cities across the United States. We lived in Spain for 3 years while my husband was in the military there. But we were in Madrid, in the city. Everywhere that we've lived, we've had the same kind of experiences. There's some good people, but there's precious few. And there are an awful lot of people that you want to protect your children from. They hardly ever come home learning something good, like some nice manners. They always learn the ugly words that, the children say, that they hear. Anyway, the point of all this is I don't really think things are getting so much worse. I think that, yes, in Florida, in other places in the sun, we have the same things you were saying. Malcontents, the crazies.
Where things are getting worse isn't what I've said about, everybody's a victim and nobody's responsible. That's where it is getting worse. Yeah, people have always used naughty words, and there have always been pool halls and burlesque halls and houses of ill repute, and there have always been scoundrels and cheats and pickpockets, and there always will be. But more and more and more and more people just flatly refuse to take responsibility for their actions, or in some cases their inaction.
Perhaps, but I really can't tell.
It's always somebody else's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always somebody else's job. Without exception, or for all practical purposes, without exception. That's where I think we have degraded, declined, call it whatever the hell you want, the most in the last decade, 2 or 3, however far back you want to go. That's one of the things that troubles me the most, is nobody's responsible for anything that's wrong except the other guy.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I don't really see that it's a whole lot worse. Maybe there are more divorced people. It certainly seems so. Maybe there are more people that are saying, it's the terrible childhood I had that has caused me to do this. But, I know somebody that's over 80 years old, and she says the same thing. Well, if she hadn't been raised the way she was, then, she wouldn't be like she is. No, that's not true. I know people that have had horrible lives. I mean, they've been kicked from pillar to post all their childhood, and they still somehow manage to become mature adults with, some responsibility in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that I want to talk to you about that I've tried to talk to you before. It is a food program. And part of this food program is that in addition to paying your money for the food, you have to do 2 hours of community service, which means two hours benefiting someone outside of your immediate family that you're not being paid for.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the SHARE program. And supposedly somebody from the Tampa warehouse has contacted you, given you literature, and I hope you have some understanding of it. it is a self-help program. You pay your money, you do your community service, and you get food at greatly reduced prices from what you pay in the grocery store. What one really wonderful thing about this program is that you have to do something. And sometimes when people come in to sign up, they look at me, with a very blank look. I do something for someone else, and I'm not paid for that. And you have to carefully explain to them, what this kind of thing is. Yes, this is helping someone in your neighborhood. This is working at the SPCA, cleaning out dog bowls, the Seabird Sanctuary, or volunteering in a hospital or a school or a library, that kind of thing. Other people come in and you're saying, well, this is the way the program works, and this is, you have to do this community service, and they tell you that they are already putting in 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week, whatever, at some VA hospital or some service organization. And in addition to that, they're also looking out for this little lady that lives down the street that doesn't drive anymore, and they take her, to the doctor's office and to the grocery store and this kind of thing. People, an awful lot of people are doing an awful lot of community service right here in this place that is supposedly one of those weird places in the sun. I guess that makes me very optimistic that I see so many people. And even the ones that don't understand about community service, and I have to take a lot of time explaining things to, they really catch on, and they find it expands their lives. One particular woman...
What's the bottom line here?
That there is something that we can do.
These are stopgap measures.
Perhaps. What?
People need meaningful gigs that pay living wages.
That's true.
Not, discounted groceries
right.
For a couple of hours of public service.
One of the things that we do in this program is we have letters to the legislature, and we take an issue, and we write letters, and we say, children need to have free lunches at school if their parents cannot afford it. A child that is not being fed certainly cannot learn. Also, other issues of migrant workers, or people need to have a living wage. They need to be able to earn enough money to live on at their job, not have to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to make a living wage. There are a lot of issues that we do address in addition to just feeding the people, but that's the first thing is if you can feed yourself for less money, maybe then you can take a class and you can increase your knowledge so that you can have a better job. Or just simply, you're a single mother or a single father, and by buying this food, you're able to better nourish your family. And that's one thing people do come back and say. If I can get them to stick with it for just 2 or 3 months,